These Renashita character kits are getting out of hand, because Cantarella's kit is definitely something. She's designed to be a sub-DPS Havoc and skill buffer with team healing, coordinated attacks, enemy slow, and good personal damage. Man, first Brant, now her, we're just getting characters that can do it all apparently. So let's talk about Cantarella's best weapons, Echoes, Teamcomps, and Sequence nodes to best build this everything-in-one powerhouse. So she holds a rectifier and scales off of attack, so there's a decent lineup for her. Firstly, as usual, her signature is her strongest, but there's a lot to it, it's crazy. Pretty much Cantarella's kit allows her to gain every buff that the weapon gives because her skill and liberation count as echo skills. So it's not very universal and I don't really suggest pulling it, which of course again gives String Master another use. It's great on her. It's great on everyone. Honestly, it's the only rectifier you need for DPSs. Rhyme Drape Sprouts is also a strong stat stick, and Cosmic Ripples is solid if you have none of those other 5 stars. Then Augment is best for Battle Pass buyers, and for the free-to-plays, Jinjo Keeper is best in slot. I will add Fusion Accretion is okay if you don't have Jinjo Keeper, and Waltz and Masquerade is kinda mid for its niche use, so I don't recommend those two. Now, let's move on to Echo Sets. Pretty straightforward. She's a Havoc sub-DPS coordinate attacker, which makes Midnight Veil, Empyrean Anthem, and Moonlit all viable. What's best depends on how you play her. Midnight is best for Havoc DPSs, and Moonlit kinda fell off because Empyrean Anthem is incredible for her. Great for personal damage and hyper carry buffing for characters that are not Havoc. Now, the main stats you want on the Echoes in a cost spread of 4-3-3-1-1, which is ideal, will be crit rate or damage on the 4 cost, double Havoc damage on the 3 cost, and double attack percent on the 1 cost. Cantarella does not need much ER percent, and she scales off of attack, so that's what you want to aim for. For the substats, she doesn't really need any specific goals, so you just want to go for crit, attack, basic attack damage bonus if you want to increase her personal damage, ER percent if you're not ulting reliably and consistently, but you pretty much just want damage. Resonance Liberation bonus is also pretty solid because that's a good chunk of her damage as well. Alright, now the fun part, team comps. Like I said before, Cantarella is a Havoc and skill buffer, so the first obvious comps will be Camellia Hypercarry, with or without a dedicated healer. Same with Danjin Hypercarry. Pairing Cantarella with Rocha and a DPS is a thing you can do. Next, skill DPSs can work, like Carlotta Hypercarry, only if you don't have Juja. Jinxie is usable because of the coordinate attacks, but Cantarella build stacks so slowly, I wouldn't recommend this comp. Oh, and Chisha can work too, but it is clear that a Havoc skill DPS will be coming in the future, because otherwise no one gets full use from her kit. My guess is Frolova, which most people think as well, so Cantarella is definitely future-proof. But now time for the last section, sequence nodes. TLDR, her signature is worth way more than any of these, but let's see what they do. So Cantarella's S1 lets her skill recover 1 stack of Trance, which is her forte, and the damage multiplier of her normal skill, enhanced skill, and enhanced forte all increase by 50%. Pretty straightforward. The overall damage increase is about 12% for her rotations. Definitely get her signature first. S2, Cantarella's liberation now also slows enemies, and the damage multiplier of Jolt, which is just a damage nuke from her skill, its multiplier increases by 245% when triggered by Cantarella specifically. So it's a big DPS increase for that nuke, but overall it'll add about 10% damage to her rotations. S3 is just a 370% damage multiplier increase for her liberation, which is actually like a 25% damage increase overall. It's massive. S4 is just more healing. It sucks. S5 also kind of sucks. So it increases the maximum amount of jellyfish that are spawned from her liberation by 5. So from 21 to 26. Yeah, it's a tiny DPS increase, but it doesn't change anything. Actually, I would say the Empyrean Anthem set gets more value because of the coordinate attack buffing. But now we're left with her S6. So her basic attack damage multiplier under her forte enhancement is increased by 80%. Casting liberation allows Cantarella to ignore 30% of enemy defense for 10 seconds, and her crowd control ability initially freezes enemies completely instead of just slowing them for the first second. Now this changes a lot, to be honest. It makes her more of an on-fielder / quick swap DPS and is a solid DPS increase for that role, but if you don't want to play her like that, then it's really not worth it. It really does change her playstyle. But that's everything for Cantarella. Guys, just pull her, okay? There's 2 big reasons to do so.